Welcome back to Ralph's Sorta True Stories. You know, you guys have probably all heard about Johnny, who is kind of this budding juvenile delinquent. And there's a lot of Johnny stories out there, but I'm going to tell you some little Ralphie stories, because little Ralphie was, he had a little touch of Johnny in him, I suppose. I remember when I was very little, I was 6 years old, I think, first grade. I graduated from kindergarten with honors. Well, actually, the teacher wanted to get rid of me, so she promoted me to first grade. So after Christmas, the teacher was going around the room and saying, Nancy, tell the class what you did for Christmas. She says, oh, well, for Christmas, we went and visited my Nana in another state. And the teacher says, now, who is Nana? Well, that's my grandmother. Says, well, you know, you're in first grade now, and Nana is a kindergarten word. You need to use some big people words. Just say grandmother. Says, oh, okay. Well, we went and visited my grandmother in another state. Very good, Nancy. Mary, what did you do? Says, oh, well, we took a trip too, and we went on a choo-choo. Says, well, now, what is a choo-choo? Oh, well, it's a train. Says, well, choo-choo is a kindergarten word, so I need you to use a big people word. Just say train. Okay, well, we took this trip on a train. Ralphie? Now, Ralphie, what did you do over Christmas? Said, well, teacher, I got this book, and I read the whole book, and it was a very good book. Says, well, Ralphie, what was the name of the book? It was Winnie. Winnie the shit. Because poo would be a kindergarten word, right, teacher? Well, that was the beginning of little Ralphie. Now, when I got to be a little older, we were in this, it was an English class, I guess, and the teacher said, now, we want to use some multi-syllable words in a sentence, and the word we want to use today is fascinate. So, Mary, can you use fascinate in a sentence? Well, you know, when we took that field trip and we went to the museum and saw those dinosaurs, I thought they were fascinating. Oh, very good. Says, now, Nancy, can you use fascinate in a sentence? She says, well, I started reading these new books, Nancy Drew girl detective stories, and I think they are fascinating. Well, Ralphie, can you use fascinate in a sentence? And I said, oh, sure I can. My Aunt Marilyn has this sweater that's got 10 buttons on it, but because her boobies are so big, she can only fascinate. Little Ralphie slid one in again. You know, they sent me off to Catholic school because I wasn't getting very good grades. And after just a semester in Catholic school, I was getting A's and B's. My parents were thinking, oh, that's wonderful. Do you think it's because of the smaller class size, or do you think it's the nuns giving attention? And I said, well, you know, I was really doing badly in math, and now math is my best subject. And, you know, when I walked in the school the first day and I saw they had that guy hung up on that plus sign, I knew they were real serious about math. So, and then the nun was going around class and saying, now, children, if you can imagine, we're going to use our imagination now, and you are going to go to heaven, what part of your body would go to heaven first? And Mary said, oh, I think it would be my eyes, because when I pray, I look up to heaven. And so if I went to heaven, I would go up with my eyes first. And Nancy said, oh, I think for that same reason it would be my hands, because when I pray with my hands pointing up in the air like that. Ralphie just interrupts the whole proceedings and says, you guys are all crazy. Your ankles and your feet go to heaven first. And the nun said, well, that's an odd answer, Ralphie. Why do you think that? The other day I walked in my parents' bedroom and my mother had her ankles and feet up in the air and she said, oh my God, I'm coming. And if Dad hadn't been there laying on top holding her down, we would have lost her right then. So little Ralphie was not the teacher's favorite student, I don't think. I remember once, now by this time we're in high school, and the teacher said, okay class, today we are going to study abstract nouns. Now an abstract noun is a word that you can think of, but you can't touch. Ralph, can you tell me a couple of abstract nouns? I said, well, I think maybe your two boobies. I got sent to detention on that one. Well, and I remember going back to grade school, the teacher was going around and she was saying, you know, what does your father do for work? Because it was going to be one of these invite your father to school days and let the fathers stand up and talk to the class. And one kid said, well, my father's a farmer. Says, well, that's very nice because farmers grow our food and that's very important. We need farmers. And they asked the next kid and he says, well, my father's a doctor. Oh, well, yeah, that's very prestigious. And, you know, you've got to be, you know, very smart and we need doctors because we all get sick. Ralph, what does your father do? Oh, yeah, my father's a pole dancer in a gay men's bar. Really? Well, I don't think we should pursue that any further. She takes me aside and she says, Ralph, is your father really a male dancer in a gay strip club or a pole dancer? I said, no, teacher, he's not. Actually, he's an accountant with Enron, but I was too embarrassed to bring it up in class. Okay, last little Ralphie story. I'm actually named after my Uncle Ralph, who served in the Korean War. The teacher was going around the class saying, tell us a story that has a moral to it. So again, little Mary goes first and says, well, we live on a chicken farm, and my father took all of the eggs and put them in the back of the pickup truck, and he was going to take them to the market and sell them. And just as he was coming off the gravel road onto the paved farm to market road, this other car came around the corner real fast, and Daddy had to drive into the ditch, and a bunch of the eggs broke. Well, that's very nice, Mary. What's the moral of the story? Well, it's don't put all your eggs in one basket. Oh, very good. Nancy, how about you? Well, you know, we live on a chicken farm too, and we have this big hatchery where we hatch the eggs out for chickens, and then we raise the chickens. And my dad had counted up all the eggs and figured out how much money we were going to have when the chickens hatched and grew up. And the bad thing was that we had this freeze, this real cold spell that came through, and the eggs only hatched out at about an 85% rate. Well, that's interesting, but what's the moral of the story? Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Oh, okay. Well, Ralph, do you have a story with a moral to it? I said, yeah. My Uncle Ralph, my namesake, was flying over Korea during the Korean War, and they started taking fire from anti-aircraft. And the plane was going to crash, so Uncle Ralph put on a parachute and he jumped out, but before he did, he grabbed a pint of Jack Daniels. And he drank that Jack Daniels all the way down to the ground, and when he landed, he was surrounded by 100 North Koreans. So he used his automatic rifle and he killed 70 of them, and then he pulled out his sidearm, and with a couple of clips, he killed another 20 of them, and then the last 10 he had to kill with his bar knife. And the teacher said, well, Ralph, your arithmetic's good. 70 and 20 and 10 does make 100, but what's the moral of the story? He said, well, I'd say, you know, don't mess with Uncle Ralph when he's been drinking. So that's my little Ralphie / Johnny stories. I want to thank you for tuning in, watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories. You know, you hurry back soon. We're going to have some more stuff up soon. In the meantime, down at the bottom, push that little thumbs up, push subscribe, push that little bell so we can ding you when we have new videos loaded. And I thank you again for watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories. Thank you.